Hello, church. Thank you so much for tuning in today to our Ethnos Talks. Today, I have my friend Aleah, and we are going to be talking just about her and her story. It's Women's History Month, and we are so excited to be celebrating that with you all. The idea behind these Ethnos Talks is just to bring a weekly cultural story that is tied to faith to help us to get to know each other better. And we want to share that with everyone. And so if you want to, you can always share this video with somebody that you just think would benefit from hearing Aleah's story. She's amazing, so share it with everyone you know. Also, we just want you to know that there is beauty in the diversity of our church. Each culture is unique and represents different experiences that we have with God. You may know this scripture already, hopefully, but Revelation 7:9 says this. It says, "After this I looked, and there before me was a great multitude that no one could count, from every nation, tribe, people, and language, standing before the throne and before the Lamb. They were wearing white robes and were holding palm branches in their hands." So today we are going to get to know Aleah and her story. Aleah is an intern here at Light and Life. She's amazing. Every time I walk into the office, she is working hard or hardly working. No, I'm just kidding, Aleah. Always working hard, serving people with the love of Jesus, just being a light to everyone that she meets. And so I'm going to let Aleah tell a little bit of her story today. So first and foremost, Aleah, would you tell us a little bit about your passion for serving people?
Yeah, so like Kimmy said, I do intern at the church. So I have a lot of opportunities to serve at the church, especially on Sundays. I'm always there, and I enjoy it in any way that they need. Any help that they need, setting up, taking down, like I'm there. Like any way that I can make someone's day easier, someone's life easier, I jump at every chance I get.
Love to hear that, Aleah. Yeah, and again, Aleah just is such a superstar in all ways of serving and such. So thank you for doing everything that you do here at Light and Life, Aleah. So the first question that I have for you is, would you tell us a little bit about your upbringing? How did it shape your ethnic identity?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Oakland, California. So I was exposed to a lot of different cultures, ethnicities at a very young age. And it really blessed me to have that exposure from a very young age. I personally haven't been cultural shocked because of that experience and where I grew up. And it definitely helped me recognize the injustices in communities and how I'm perceived as a Black woman and how Black men are perceived, and a lot of people of color are perceived. But it definitely helped me open my eyes, and also mainly to grow up to learn to accept myself, because when I was younger, I did not want to be a Black woman. Once I figured out how this road was towards us, and I was like, no, I don't want to be this Black woman. I want to be something else. And so now that I'm older, I was able to grow into accepting being a Black woman and seeing the power in that. And yeah, it took a lot, but I'm here today and I love who I am and where I come from.
Yes, Aleah, that's so good. And I've loved hearing a little bit about your story. Could you maybe tell us, on that journey to saying, this is who I am and I accept that about myself. Maybe what were some steps or some things that God was doing in your heart in that time?
I definitely do think that the first step is to accept and to acknowledge that there's no way to change who you are. And like, there's a reason why God made you that person in the first place. And he's going to use it. Through all the hurt, through all the pain, whatever you may come across, it's like God's going to use it. And at first, because I didn't grow up in the church, so I never really knew that growing up personally. It was more so once I got older and I did give my life to Christ that I was like, okay, God, like I see you using me and using my Blackness and all of that stuff that as a kid I was so ashamed of and I wanted to hide and get rid of. I'm glad that you didn't. Like, I'm glad you didn't answer my birthday wish because here I am today. But yeah, definitely I think the first step at least is acknowledgement and accepting, and then learning what it means and what it looks like, what it means to you most importantly. And yeah, once you learn more about yourself and where you come from, it's beautiful, honestly.
Yes, that's so good. Yeah, and when we start to accept more about ourselves, God starts to reveal more about us
Mhm.
to us, right? And then
Yeah.
we're like, okay, God, you made me pretty cool. You made me
Yeah.
special and specific, and the
Mhm.
call on our life, I feel like until we can really accept who we are, how
Right.
God has created us and made us, that call on our life seems kind of like a distant dream sometimes because we still have to figure out how we can get there. But part of that is accepting, what, God made me this way on purpose. So,
Mhm.
so good. Yeah, the next question I have for you is just what are some stories or memories, whether they be painful or joy filled, from your cultural history that have impacted you most?
So my memory is kind of painful and joyful. I grew up in a family that was ran by women. And so I was exposed to a lot of powerful women at a very young age. And it was very empowering. But it was also sad just to know the history of why a lot of Black communities, women often do run the families because of our Black men and the injustices in the system. But the beauty in that was to see the power in women and how we could really carry things on our backs. And yeah, it really opened my eyes as a woman, and it made me very strong-willed and dominant, which has its pros and its cons, but it really helped me accept as a woman, because as just women, we experience so much throughout history and throughout our everyday lives. And it was just that had a huge impact on me. And I didn't realize it until I got older and I started having conversations with friends who did not grow up around a lot of women. And I was like, what? This, like, I thought this was normal. And they're like, no. I was like, oh, okay. Like, it really does. Like, you really do see the difference. And so that's like a joyful and a painful combination for me. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can relate. I come from a similar background, and to an extent, Aaliyah, I'm sure you've seen this, and those who are watching can probably relate. But there are a lot of people who end up on extreme sides of the spectrum, right? Where it's like women can't lead, and like I don't believe in myself, and they're very down on themselves. Versus women who are like, well, I'm better than everybody else, including men. And these two extremes are very unhealthy. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so at the end of the day, like finding that middle ground where we say we empower both men and women because we deem them both like created by God and important, right?
Mm-hmm.
To the work of the kingdom. And so maybe what's something that you would share that could be encouraging to somebody who maybe finds himself on one edge of the spectrum to say like, this is how we, or how you would empower a woman to say like, hey, this is who you are, be you, but don't stomp on one side of the spectrum here.
Right. I think that I would say just always being in a place to learn and being willing to learn and open to criticisms. I think a lot of times, because when people are on the opposite spectrums, it's just because they're in a space where they are not willing to learn or be open. Um, and it's just a lot of times people think they're know-it-alls, or this is how it's supposed to be. This is what a woman's supposed to be like, what a woman's supposed to act like. And that's not necessarily the case. But yeah, I think I'm actually constantly seeking women who are seasoned saints, as I like to call them, and like they're in places where I want to be. And so that keeps me humbled, because I'm like, I know where I come from, but this is where I want to be. And so it kind of balanced me out to always connect with women who are a few steps ahead of me, and like learn from them and be willing to not only learn from them, but teach others what I have learned from them. And it's not coming from a place of I know it all, because I don't, because I'm still learning from them. Like I'm getting information from them and I'm giving to someone else. But yeah, I think that was like the biggest thing, is to just be in a place of humility and being humbled. It makes a huge difference.
Yes, absolutely. So what I'm hearing you say is like discipleship and mentorship is
Mhm.
really key to keeping us humble and understanding who we are and how that impacts our faith and how that impacts our walk with God. And I
Right.
think that kind of leads us to this last question that I want to ask you, which is how have these past experiences, everything we just talked about, how have they shaped the way that you live out your faith? Now, you talked a little bit about empowering other women and how you love serving here at the church, but even just specifically your personal relationship with Jesus,
Mm.
all the way to serving here, how has all of this impacted and shaped the way that you do that?
Yeah, I think definitely just going back to me growing up in a very multi-ethnic city, I think that that's shaped the way that I view the kingdom, and God has been really faithful in exposing me to very diverse communities. And so from my first time stepping into faith, I was in a very diverse community, and I was like, this is where I want to be. This is what I love. Um, and so, yeah, it's crazy to me to think that, because I could have easily have been placed in a very mono-ethnic community, but he was very intentional. He knew my heart and he knew what the kingdom would look like. And he placed me in these communities where I had the chance to experience different cultures, which is what I was used to. But also I go into these communities in hopes, because typically a lot of the time there's not a lot of Black women leaders. So I go into in hopes of helping to find ways to shape that community and make it a safe space, and make it open, and other Black women see it or Black men see it and know that they will be received there and they are accepted there and they are welcome there. And I think that God has been really like faithful and like using me and like teaching me, and he's brought so many powerful like ministry women like you into my life out of the blue. Like I don't know how any of this happened. I'm just here, and it's like I have this opportunity to really just learn from you all and really grow and go to where I want to be, and know that I can get there because women have already done it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, I received that compliment, and I'll just share with anybody who's listening and watching right now. Aleah has personally impacted my life with her friendship, and I remember we sat down and we talked for a little bit over ice cream. The best way to sit and talk is always over food or ice cream.
Yeah.
And we talked about different music styles that we were into, like different gospel music and all this stuff. And we could relate, right, Aleah? But there were some times where you would say like an artist name. Oh, I grew up with this. You never heard of this? I was like, no. And because of that, we were able to really see different sides of it, not specifically worship, but different sides of how people worship God.
Mhm.
So I think it's just incredible that our stories tell different aspects of how we experience the presence of God, how we interact with Him, because He's the same God, and yet He created so many different types of people. It's just amazing, and it's something that we love to see. We love to
We
see
love
it.
to see it.
So, Leah, thank you so much for sharing your heart with us today. And yeah, we're just so blessed by your story and by you as a person serving here at Light and Life. And yeah, just thank you again. And so, if you guys happen to see Aleah while she's just out there Sundays serving, doing her thing, say hello. Tell her you watched this. Tell her she's awesome and amazing. But again, thank you so much, Aleah, just for being here with us today. And we love you, church. And we will see you for our next talk. Thank you.
Yes. Bye. Thank you.